We got a very important update for you guys in this crypto market today because of a few things happening. First of all, we have a critical monthly candle close that is coming up, as well as a weekly candle close that's also coming up over the weekend here. Now, why are these candle closes so important right now? Well, first of all, we're seeing a dump in the crypto markets. Uh, Bitcoin, the driver of this crypto markets, is down almost 4%, below 110K right now, which is that very important level I've been talking about. If we get solid weekly candle closes below this 110K level, this is not going to be looking good for Bitcoin. Okay, because that was basically the resistance we needed to break above and stay above in order for this bull run to look like it's still happening. Okay. If we actually get solid candle closes on these time frames below 110K, then we're going to come back here and rechart what could be happening with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, if it dumps, that's very bad for your altcoins as we're seeing it right now. We're also going to be taking a look into a few altcoins later in this video. We're going to be talking about AI16Z. We're going to be talking about XYO Network, as well as Verasity, which is VRA. See what has happened in these markets since the last time I've talked about it. Are their trading patterns still the same? Has anything changed with their price targets? We're going to be taking a look into that later in this video. I highly don't recommend that you guys skip through, okay? Because I never trade altcoins without a clear understanding of what's happening in Bitcoin. Especially during days like these when Bitcoin is dumping and we're seeing not just Bitcoin, but even the stock market is dumping, okay? S&P 500. So something could be going on here. We're also going to be taking a look into some major economics and crypto news that could affect the markets. So we're going to get into the news first before diving into the charts. Let's go to the first piece of news here, which is by Cointelegraph. Bitcoin Treasury flubs. These firms fumble their BTC bets. Okay, so we're seeing quite a bit of firms here, including GameStop, right? GameStop, Empery Digital, okay? Volcon, an electric vehicle maker. Okay, so what is this exactly about? Is because now the number of Bitcoin treasury firms keep on climbing, but announcing a Bitcoin strategy is no longer a guaranteed way to pump a company's shared price. So it sounds like they were initially trying to buy Bitcoin for their reserves to pump their company share price. That's my interpretation of what's going on here. But it didn't seem like it was a guaranteed way to pump a company share price anymore. So uh, I think initially that was very bullish for Bitcoin when these companies were buying up Bitcoin to be their reserves. I still think that is very bullish because that's buying up the supply in the market, which, if there's less supply and the demand comes, then naturally the price of Bitcoin will go up. And as you guys know, Bitcoin has been struggling this year. It hasn't been the easiest year for trading crypto and Bitcoin. I've seen periods of frustration like this, like back in maybe about September to November of 2020. That was kind of a frustrating time because altcoins were kind of similar to how we're experiencing altcoins right now. Okay, like it doesn't really have a straight trend, and another period I can name was probably from May 2021 to July 2021. That was also a period where it was very hard to trade crypto. But of course, those only lasted a couple of months versus this has been almost the entirety of this year. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's not a, it's not an easy time to be trading crypto, but I am still here. I am still bullish on crypto. I am long on Bitcoin. I am long on quite a bit of the altcoins here. So my opinion on this market still bullish. But I'll tell you guys when I change my opinions. Next piece here is by Crypto Potato. CRO skyrockets, Ethereum crashes post all-time high, and Bitcoin battles 110K. Your weekly crypto recap. So yeah, I saw CRO, which is Chronos. I did an update on that and just saw Chronos basically smashing its resistance. Okay, and that could happen when the market is very bullish. And I think going into the bull cycle here, if Bitcoin holds 110K, then I could expect to see a lot more action like that. Not limited to to Chronos, but across quite a bit of these altcoins as well, as I have seen back in 2021. Next piece here is by Crypto Potato as well. Altcoin season 2025 is here. Bitcoin just gave the green light. Now, this is very interesting because even during days like these, I like to keep an open mind, right? I like to listen to both sides of the trade. I want to listen to both the bulls and the bears because as a trader in this market, I have to try to make money on both sides of the trade, right? So I have to keep an open mind. I am not permanently bullish nor permanently bearish because all cycles come to an end. So I pay attention. But right now, I am still bullish on this market, and let's take a look into this piece here. Crypto quants beat Bitcoin dominance metric trends indicate that the 50 weekly EMA has been decisively broken, while the weekly closed below this key level for the past 3 weeks. Now, this person is talking about Bitcoin dominance and how Bitcoin dominance is giving the green light for alt season. I think that's partially true, but I also pay attention to Bitcoin as well as the altcoin charts because Bitcoin could still dump, um, and altcoins could dump less. But I mean, in that case, Bitcoin dominance is still going down, right? Just estimating there, and I mean that may not still that might not still be necessarily the start of a alt season. I'm not saying this is not the start of the alt season, but I'm just saying what this person is looking at may not be a clear indicator because the clear indicator I am looking at will be Bitcoin charts and the altcoin market charts, which includes Ethereum, which includes Total 3, which I'll get to the charts in just a second. All right, next piece here is by Cointelegraph. Bitcoin whales send Bitcoin price under 109.5K as market wobbles into US PCE. Now, PCE is one of those reports that will affect the Fed rate cut decision that's coming up in September. Okay, however, if we actually take a look into the CME watch tool right now, we're still at 87%. So let me refresh this right now real quick because it could change throughout the day, just depending on new events happening. Okay, we're at 87% still. So it's still looking very good. We're still heavily favored in terms of a rate cut that could be coming in September. So that's going to be very good for the for crypto if a rate cut does happen. All right, so let's go to the next piece here is Bitcoin drops below 110K. What is the next support? So the next support I am really looking at is going to be the weekly 21 SMA. So weekly time frame, weekly 21 SMA is currently at about 100 and just almost 107K here, which is the blue line. That is going to be the next support. I would expect a bounce. Now, could this be the bounce that takes Bitcoin higher? Not necessarily. I'm just going to take, it's going to be a wait and see approach, right? Let's see what kind of bounce we get at that support. But I do expect a bounce, right? So something to be keeping an eye out on. Now we had bearish divergence playing out on the weekly time frame. That is playing out, right? Now, I have also mentioned on the monthly time frame that there is bearish divergence as well. That is basically playing out right now and gave us a red monthly candle. Even though I said that there has been exceptions where bearish divergence gets invalidated, like back in December 2020 and October 2017, it is not, it doesn't have to exactly play out that way. Now, a bullish idea here is that that the bullish divergence actually plays out, okay, and we still end up above 110K, and that basically tells me that, that could tell me that this bearish divergence already yielded a red candle, and that the next month's monthly candle could potentially be the rebound. Now, that is just an idea, of course. One of the scenarios that could happen. I'm not guaranteeing anything. And of course, these are just my opinions and not financial advice, like the rest of this video. So that's basically what I'm seeing. Let's come over here and zoom in a little bit. Daily time frame. There could potentially be bullish divergence that could play out here if we actually get an RSI reading that's equal or higher than about 38 here. Okay. Otherwise, some of these falling wedges could get invalidated. Now, let's go ahead and go to altcoins. What are altcoins doing here? What has AI16Z been doing since the last time we've talked about it? Let's take a look into the weekly time frame. Weekly time frame. I talked about I talked about a falling wedge that has that has formed in the beginning of this year. It broke out of it. It is still valid technically because the price action is still above this upper trend line of the pattern it broke out of. Now, price target for AI16Z is going to be about $1.70. Price target, let's see if it reaches there. Price targets are not 100%. Okay, they're estimates only. There could be more or less. Very much depends on what happens with Bitcoin. Now, I also have noticed a falling wedge pattern here on this daily time frame. This I talked about last time, right? Broke out of here, even though it has gone on a downtrend since the breakout here, is still valid for the same reason. And the price target out of this smaller falling wedge pattern is going to be about 30 cents AI16Z. Now, broke out of this one and formed an even smaller one. And the price target for the breakout of this one would be about 18 cents. Now, falling wedges are bullish patterns that has a higher chance of breaking to the upside, but also have to consider the downside risk as well because there is still a smaller chance it breaks down, as we have been seeing with Bitcoin lately. Let's take a look into XYO Network and see what's happening with XYO. Weekly time frame for XYO Network. Talked about a falling wedge pattern. Broke out of it back in March of this year. Price target for this one would be about 3.9 cents XYO Network. Let's see if it gets there. Broke out of it, went on a little bit of a downtrend as well before taking a huge bounce. And let's zoom in a little bit and see what we could be dealing with. I talked about a potential cup and handle pattern if XYO can come up here again to retest about 1.6 cents about 2 more times on this daily time frame. But right now it's still a pretty far shot, right? I'm just talking about a potential scenario that hasn't happened yet. Now, daily time frame, what we could be dealing with here is we have some bullish divergence, which is basically where you have a lower low on the price action chart, but you have an equal or higher low, in this case, equal low on the RSI. That could be playing out, but it's very important for XYO to actually break above this upper trend line here, so it doesn't form some type of a falling wedge, okay? So this is the daily time frame. Very important for XYO to break out of this upper trend line. Otherwise, it could look something more like this, right? Or it could still form some type of a double bottom pattern here at about 0.97 cents or even slightly lower. Something to be paying attention to for XYO. Let's go ahead and go to Verasity, which is VRA, see what's happening in this market. All right, VRA. Talked about a huge pattern here on this weekly time frame. And it is the falling wedge pattern, which is the most common pattern you guys will see if you guys start charting your candles. It's very simple, it's very effective. In this case, VRA broke out of it a couple of weeks ago. It hasn't done too much just yet. There is quite a bit of resistance along the way, which includes the weekly 21 SMA at about 0.15 cents. Let's take a look into the daily time frame. Daily time frame, I talked about a smaller falling wedge that broke out, right? Price target for this one would be about 0.19 cents. If VRA does come back up here to retest about 0.19 cents 2 more times on this daily time frame, this could build some type of a rounded bottom into a cup and handle. But right now, it's still too early to say. Now, since the breakout here, it has also formed another falling wedge pattern. Price target, let's just say, for example, if it breaks out by this point, price target will give you about 0.19 cents price targets. So let's see if VRA can actually hit some of these price targets before heading to the bigger one of that bigger falling wedge. So this basically wraps up for my update for today. Let me know if you guys want to continue seeing any more of these altcoins or any other altcoins in this market. I highly recommend that you guys subscribe and like this video so you can keep up with the updates, because I think crypto is going to be in for some volatility right now. So I'll keep you guys updated, and I'll see you on the next one.